Dark Souls. You've heard of it, I'm sure. A lot of people have. A lot of people have played Dark Souls, immersed themselves in the grand, intricate world of Lordran. But you know what would really help with that immersion? What would take it one step further? It's one of the 5 senses that video games and most media have left almost completely untapped. I'm referring, of course, to smell. And on the subject of smell, I recently began to wonder, what do the characters in Dark Souls smell like? Who is the smelliest NPC in Lordran? That's what we're here to find out today. I do have some ground rules. We're not going to be talking about every single character in the game. Specifically, the only characters who qualify for this list are those who you can see and talk to. It may surprise you to hear this, but there are actually 40 characters in Dark Souls who fit these criteria. It's a lot of characters to go through, so for the sake of brevity, we're just going to take all the mid-tiers and dump them in the trash. And that just leaves us with Lordran's top 10 stinkers. It's time to rank the rank! Our first stinker is the crestfallen merchant, whose disposition and occupation should be pretty apparent.
You soon shall see the putrid fates we both share.
Hard to say where he hails from. He does wear some armor from Baronique, but it's possible he just looted it, as he openly admits to regularly getting his stock from corpses. That's right, this guy regularly interacts with ripe, rotting cadavers. Not to mention he's probably on his way to becoming a corpse himself. He is crestfallen after all, and he seems to be indicating that he doesn't have much motivating him these days. And I'd imagine that someone who's getting closer to hollowing is a little harsher on the nose than someone who recently became undead. Plus he's wearing some pretty heavy armor, probably doing his fair share of sweating while he's out picking those corpses clean. The 3 Sealers got their moniker from their decision to flood the city of New Londo to prevent the spread of the Dark Wraiths and the Abyss. As a result, all of its citizens were trapped and drowned. The 3 Sealers remained to watch over the city ruins just in case the Dark Wraiths ever managed to escape their watery prison. At least there were 3 of them at one point. 2 of them eventually abandoned their post, leaving only Ingward. There's not much information on why the other 2 left, but might it be because the long-standing corpse water smells like ass? New Londo itself probably doesn't smell great, and yet Ingward sticks around. You might call it dedication, but I wonder if he just doesn't mind the smell. He's presumably spent years in what is essentially a dark, dank cave reeking of death, and it's not exactly like he can properly wash himself. What's he gonna use? The corpse water? And I know he's not going elsewhere to bathe because he literally does not tolerate sunlight.
The sunlight made me wince, and now I've come back to this dark hole.
Dude stinks.
You detest my pyromancy. That must be it. Then I'll give you a taste of it. It will not be pleasant, I assure you.
I know. I like Laurentius just as much as the next guy, but I just can't ignore the evidence. He hails from the land known as the Great Swamp, which as we all know means his bathing ritual looks something like this. Laurentius says himself that pyromancers are considered unsavory. People don't like to be around them. They even have a spell that allows them to sweat on command. And just look at these robes, man. Laurentius is a nice guy and all, but the nose knows. And here we have the primordial serpent Kingseeker Frampt.
Hello.
Frampt has possibly the most direct evidence of stench in the game.
Damn, that stench. And I was really beginning to like it here.
If it was bad enough for the crestfallen warrior to remark on it, it's probably pretty bad. Given that the serpent seems to just be a body and a head, I sincerely doubt he could clean himself in any significant way. Plus, he's primordial, meaning he's existed as long as time itself. He's got that old stank. And as if I needed any more evidence, Frampt is willing and eager to eat shit. And the player character has to spend time inside his mouth. Ugh. And all of this probably applies to Koth too.
The dark remained. Thus began the age.
But there's still more stench to uncover. Quaelag's sister has many hats, Most of them are invisible. She's a former Chaos Witch, a current Firekeeper, and also half her body is a big nasty spider who seems to be almost dead. You see, the Fair Lady, as she's known to some, is kind to a fault. When her servants fell victim to a parasitic disease, she absorbed the blight pus unto herself. Blight pus. That can't be good. And when she became a Firekeeper, the writhing masses of humanity that she attracted became encased in the eggs that are seen around her.
The eggs, it hurts. They've gone still.
As a result, she's quite weak and sickly. Plus, being a Firekeeper, she likely smells strongly of ash and soot. And you put all this together, I just can't imagine it results in any kind of pleasant smell. Next up is the male undead merchant over in the Burg. Now, he may seem sort of unassuming at this point, but I assure you, based on all the science and rigorous testing that I've definitely done, you don't want to be inhaling when this guy's around. I mean, just look at him. His clothes seem very disheveled and dirty, and the man himself is basically on the verge of hollowing, becoming a full-blown corpse. This is further demonstrated in his dialogue and mannerisms. He's antisocial and basically delusional. He's got an imaginary pet, and that's right, we've got another corpse looter. If this guy doesn't smell awful, then I'm the Princess of Sunlight.
Go and fall off a cliff.
Alright, I think some palate cleansing is in order. Let's check in on some of the fairer-scented people of Lordran. First we have the time-traveling Princess Dusk of Ulasil. Given that she's a sitting noble with fine garments from a time long ago, I would venture to say she's probably adorned with some fine perfumes, and she likely has a very regular bathing schedule. On top of all that, she's likely still human. Unlike most other humanoid NPCs, she has the advantage of not being a slowly rotting corpse. A nice respite for a weary nose.
Please excuse my fanciful musings.
Alright everyone, grab your dolls because we're going to the painted world for this next one. Crossbreed Priscilla was once a prominent character early in the development of Dark Souls, something like a maiden in black figure. So it follows that she would be given a similar treatment in terms of her temperament, visual design, and most importantly, her smell. While I don't pretend to know what the Maiden in Black would smell like, I believe Priscilla would smell pretty nice. First of all, she's in a very cold environment, and for whatever reason I associate the cold with nicer smells, or at least less bad smells. And crummy Dark Souls fur visuals aside, she's got a nice clean coat. I bet she smells like peppermint.
Thine desires shall be requited not.
Oh, alright. I'll see myself out. But who is the best smelling person, Who has the finest aroma of all these fictional friends? I'm actually reluctant to admit it, but it has to be the so-called Marvelous Chester. For one, he's very well dressed. His clothes are described as exquisitely sewn and aristocratic. And let's not forget that he carries multiple roses on him. Roses that I would presume to be real. I can't see him manufacturing fake roses specifically to be used as weapons, though I suppose collecting real ones is also kind of excessive. Either way, a guy who flaunts roses has got to have the scent to back it up. One other detail that is admittedly speculative is that he may be human. It's not clear exactly where or when he came from. All that is to say, Chester probably smells better than any other NPC in this nasty land of Lordran. So congratulations, Chester, you win. But that's not the point of this video. Time to get back to business. Our next dingy denizen is none other than Quelana of Izalith.
Ah, there you are.
Let's just say the Daughters of Chaos's olfactory track record leaves something to be desired. Quelana is the mother of pyromancy, which you'll remember is responsible for the Sweat on Command spell. Let's start with the robes she wears, which even at first glance don't look particularly well washed. But if you read the description, you'll notice that she's been wearing them for literal ages. I've reworn jeans before, but that's taking it a little too far. And where do we find Quelana? Lounging on the ground, surrounded by poopy swamp water. I mean, for God's sake, even these poison bugs don't want to be around her. She stinks so bad. As if all that isn't bad enough, she tells you herself that she pretends to bathe. And for those who don't know, here's the definition of ablution. And even if she did care to bathe, I really don't think this shit would help in any way, shape, or form. Quelana is certifiably disgusting, but it gets worse. The female undead merchant shares several traits with her male counterpart, being completely Looney Tunes and being almost completely hollowed. But 3 things set them apart. Location, location, location. This merchant has set up shop in what is essentially a sewer system, something that is exemplified by the fact that she sells poop. That's right, she wanders through the sewer in search of feces. Then she collects it, handles it, and sells it to people on a regular basis. Just imagine the smell of fresh feces in ample supply, plus the smell of rotting flesh that's at least partly soaked. I don't know how the chosen undead can pass by her without just passing out.
Yes, I suppose you think you're special. Well, you're not. You're just another customer. Burn in hell.
But there's still one person left who takes the cake and shits all over it. In keeping with the theme of pyromancers being unsavory, we have Engi. And this motherfucker is so putrid and repulsive. He was considered a heretic and driven out of the Great Swamp. I repeat, this guy was driven out of a swamp. And this is presumably before he even became infected with the blight pus, to bring that fun term back. Engi has elected not to get rid of the parasitic eggs taking up residence on his back, which means his only mode of travel is dragging his body across the dirty ground. Oh, and what sorts of pyromancy is Engi famous for? Oh, I don't know. Could be that he invented poison and toxic pyromancies. He couldn't be any more vile if he tried. All that's missing is some kind of nasty discharge, but I guess someone else cornered the market there. Hats off. Hats off to Engi. Can we get a round of applause for this disgusting piece of shit? Now burn! Burn in hell! Did I forget to mention that the winner would be immediately executed? Oh well, it doesn't matter now. What's important is that we got to the bottom of this mystery. Now you can tell all your friends, in order, who the smelliest Dark Souls characters are. Anyway, if you liked this olfactory odyssey, give me a look in on Patreon, where all patrons get special perks like these. Wow! You can also subscribe to the channel to see more videos from me, and if you wouldn't mind, just drop a fat like on this video. Maybe take a shower lest you end up on the list.